Hello, class. My name is Jacob. I just wanted to give the audience a brief overview of our presentation before we begin. The first thing we're going over is defining the term fallacy. From there, we'll be moving into defining different types of fallacies. We will also be giving a couple examples of these fallacy types in order to paint a clear picture of how these fallacies are used in a day-to-day life. This presentation will cover 4 different types of fallacies. Ad hominem, presented by myself. Ad populum, presented by Trisha. Ignorance of refutation, presented by Phoenix. And lastly, the fallacy of appealing to ignorance, which will be presented by Kevin. Once all of the fallacies have been presented, there will be a brief conclusion slide to retouch on the key takeaways of our presentation. All references and the script for this presentation are made available in the final slide through the link provided. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy our presentation. What is a fallacy? That's a great question, isn't it? Well, a fallacy is defined by Austin J. Freely and David L. Steinberg as any unsound mode of arguing which appears to demand our conviction and to be decisive of the question at hand, when in fairness, it is not. A much simpler way of defining fallacy is that it is an error in reasoning. The first type of fallacy we will be going over today is the ad hominem fallacy. An ad hominem fallacy is an attack on the character of a person rather than his or her opinions or arguments. Given the most recent election that occurred, there have been numerous examples of the usage of the ad hominem fallacy. In reference to Kamala Harris, Donald Trump made these remarks. She's dumb, she's stupid, she can't put 2 sentences together. I have no respect for her intelligence. These remarks are a direct attack on Vice President Kamala Harris. They are a perfect example of how an ad hominem works to attack your opponent as an individual rather than attacking their stances. Another example of an ad hominem used was Harris's rebuttal after Trump accused Harris of planning to confiscate everybody's guns, where she stated, "Tim Walz and I are both gun owners, and we're not taking anybody's guns away." Harris is arguing that she won't take a certain action because of who she is as a person. Although her 2 statements are loosely related, it isn't inherently true that just because she owns a gun, she won't take anybody else's away. Notice how both parties use the ad hominem fallacy. These examples that I gave are not meant to be polarizing in any way. I just wanted to give current examples of how the ad hominem fallacy can be used in modern politics and debate. All right, enough of me talking. Trisha will be introducing y'all to the next fallacy.
An ad populum fallacy, also known as a bandwagon fallacy, refers to a belief that something is true solely because it is what a large number of people believe. In other words, if X amount of people believe that something is true, then it must be true. This fallacy also works the other way around. If X amount of people believe that something is not true, then it must not be true. This fallacy is often used to justify or normalize a specific position. It can also be used to make a position seem more appealing by exaggerating its popularity. One example of an ad populum fallacy from long ago, in the Middle Ages, would be that the world is flat. So many people believe this fact and truly believe that if they traveled too far, they would fall off of the earth. A fallacy for more modern times would be viral TikTok challenges. Since everyone is doing them, kids, teens, and even some adults jump on board to do the challenges, even if they are dangerous. Ad populum, or bandwagon fallacies, are widely used in many areas of everyday life, from parenting to politics to purchasing consumer goods, etc. In parenting, I know I was asked and have asked my own children, if your friends all jumped off of a bridge, would you jump too? Just because everyone is doing it does not mean you have to do it too. We have all likely heard all the statements and facts provided during this recent campaign season. Many arguments you heard from all parties were ad populum or bandwagon fallacies. You see this fallacy in all types of marketing strategies for products, food, movies, and other things. This fallacy is a very effective way to try to make people see things your way. It is a very manipulative and deceiving fallacy. You really need to be convincing and confident in what you're trying to sell to others when using the ad populum or bandwagon fallacy. The ad populum bandwagon fallacy ties into the other fallacies we have learned about and can be used in conjunction with other fallacies to make it seem more persuasive. For more visualization examples for the ad populum or bandwagon fallacy, please refer to the images on this slide. In the upper left-hand corner, you see a line of men standing behind each other with their hands in each other's pockets and a caption stating, "Everybody's doing it." The picture in the lower left-hand corner depicts a horde of people following the bandwagon. The picture in the upper right-hand corner shows a group of people in a single file line, all wearing blindfolds with a literal meaning of the blind leading the blind. They are all following what the entire group is doing. The picture in the lower right-hand corner depicts the namesake of a bandwagon, which is actually a very fitting name for all intents and purposes.
Hello, I'm Phoenix, and now I will be talking about my fallacy. The appeal that I'll be talking about is the ignorance of refutation, otherwise known as ignoring the issue. This then brings the opportunity for a red herring argument to be presented. For a little bit of background information, the name red herring comes from fox hunting, in which hunters rub red herring onto fox trails to throw out the scent that the dogs had picked up. It's funny to hear the way that this fallacy got named, due to the fact that the way that this fallacy is actually played out is exactly like how the hunters do their hunting. Utilizing the ignorance of refutation fallacy is when a person within the debate purposefully ignores and diverted from information brought up previously in order to distract the audience and opponents from their flaws, holes in their case, and the issues in their overall argument, hence the name, ignoring the issue. A simpler way of describing this fallacy is to say that the person using it leads the argument one way and ends it in a completely different place than it should have. I'll now give an example of a red herring within a debate. Going back all the way to the year 2000, we can see a prime example of a red herring in play when listening to the debate between Vice President candidate Joseph Lieberman and Richard Cheney. When asked about the state of the U.S. military, Cheney said that their administration made it to where the military was overcommitted and also underprepared, and because of it, the military was in a worse spot than it was 8 years ago. In response, it is said that Lieberman basically just spewed red herring after red herring, as his response was basically just word vomit. He talks about how our military is the strongest in the world, which is just irrelevant when asked about the state of the military, that it is not good for our military to run it down, which again, irrelevant to the conversation. And lastly, about how, with his thoughts, the military performed brilliantly in regards to Saddam Hussein and other things in Afghanistan and Iraq. Of course, I only give you the major details for his response, but you can clearly tell that the stuff that he was saying did not relate to the question being asked. That is the point of a red herring, and in turn, avoiding the issue. Hence the name of this fallacy.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Santero, and today we're exploring a logical misstep in arguments known as the appeal to ignorance fallacy. This fallacy, which is often disguised in persuasive speech, sidesteps valid objections, and can lead to misleading conclusions. The appeal to ignorance fallacy, also called the ignoratio elenchi, or ignoring counter-evidence, occurs when a speaker distracts from a question's real issue by bringing up unrelated points, thereby avoiding the argument's core. Picture this. You're in a debate and your opponent questions whether a proposed plan is feasible or affordable. Instead of addressing the cost or practicality, your shift focuses on all the great things that this plan could accomplish if it worked. This deflection is a classic appeal to ignorance. To break it down with a clear example, let's look at a scenario from a recent election debate. Imagine one candidate proposing a sweeping, expensive healthcare plan. The opposing side criticizes it, citing that the country's current budget and infrastructure can't support such a program. Instead of addressing these points, the candidate pivots, listing benefits of improved healthcare access, sidestepping the central question of whether this plan is workable. By ignoring the main concern, the speaker relies on the appeal to ignorance, diverting us from the plan's potential flaws. According to our class textbook, this fallacy also can be labeled as red herring argument. Originating from fox hunting, where a smoked fish would distract dogs from the fox's scent, a red herring in debate involves introducing irrelevant ideas to throw the audience off track. In the textbook examples, a debates team argued that the U.S. government should significantly increase space exploration. When the opposing side pointed out that the plan was unworkable due to high costs and lack of technology, the affirmative side ignored these critiques, instead talking up the possible benefits of the program. By focusing on potential advantages without addressing the feasibility, they distracted them from the central issue. To sum it up, the appeal to ignorance fallacy ignores key counter-arguments by deflecting to tangential ideas, a tactic that can mislead and confuse as we watch debates. It's essential to look past these distractions and hold speakers accountable for addressing real issues head on. Thank you for tuning in, and stay logical and keep questioning. In conclusion, I hope everyone's learned a lot and that you will use some of this information that you've learned in the future if it's watching debates of an election or just in day-to-day conversation if you're arguing with someone or a friend or just a calm discussion with somebody, that this information can be benefit. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.